Teclis, High Lawmaster of Hoeth and the Warden of the White Tower, is a figure etched deeply into the annals of High Elf history. As the most revered High Elf Archmage of his age and a Prince of Ulthuan, he wields the Sword of Teclis and commands the formidable powers of high magic. Born in the Kingdom of Safri in the year 2157 of the Imperial calendar, Teclis has lived a life marked by the pursuit of magical mystery and the defense of his realms, which include the illustrious White Tower of Hoeth. Teclis' lineage traces back to the mighty Inarian, making him a descendant destined for greatness among the 10 kingdoms of the High Elves. His twin brother Tyrion is celebrated as the Defender of Ulthuan, a renowned warrior prince. While Tyrion is devoted to the military protection of their homeland, Teclis' focus extends beyond. He is a protector of the entire mortal world, guiding and aiding its diverse peoples. This Archmage's magical powers is so profound that he stands unmatched, even by the formidable Witch King of Nagaroth, Malekith. Their legendary confrontation during the Great War against Chaos solidified Teclis' supremacy in the magical arts. Such is his might that it is rumored his power could rival that of the Leech Nagash, the great necromancer. Teclis' contribution to the world are not limited to his magical feats. Following the war, he assisted the Imperial General Magnus the Pious in funding the colleges of magic within the Empire. This endeavor aimed to teach human wizards to harness the winds of magic safely, ensuring that the arcane arts could be practiced without the catastrophic consequences typically associated with them. Teclis continues to journey across various lands, sharing his wisdom and utilizing his magic to stave off the dark forces of chaos. His legacy is defined not merely by battles or campaigns, but his enduring impact on the fate of the mortal world. As he once proclaimed, "With moonstaff and sword I am master of magics and shaper of fates. Destiny beckons and I must hear the call." Thus the legend of Teclis, the Archmage of Ulthuan, continues to inspire and resonate, a testament to his unmatched mastery and his profound commitment to safeguarding all realms of existence. The intervention by Assyrian did not only spare Teclis and Tyrion from a grim fate, but also marked a turning point in their destinies. Recognized as chosen of the gods, the twins' lives took on new meaning and urgency, while Tyrion owned his skills as a warrior, becoming one of Ulthuan's most formidable defenders. Teclis turned toward the deeper study of magic under the guidance of the Order of the Lawmasters. The Order of the Lawmasters, known for its profound arcane knowledge and historical records, became the perfect sanctum for Teclis to cultivate his innate magical abilities. The heraldry of the Order's High Elven army, which Teclis would eventually command, was depicted in the brilliant colours and intricate designs characteristic of High Elven art, embodying the wisdom and power that Teclis came to represent. Under his leadership, this army stood as a bulwark against the chaos that periodically threatened to engulf the world. As High Lawmaster, Teclis was instrumental in redefining the magical doctrines of the High Elves. His profound understanding of magic allowed him to weave spells of incredible complexity and power, far beyond what any of his contemporaries would achieve. His efforts were driven by a pure intent, a desire to see the world freed from the pervasive and corruptive influence of chaos. As he once declared, guided by the goddess Lilith and her visions of a future free from darkness. "Lilith knows the purity of my intentions. I would see the shackles of chaos broken." This vision led Teclis not only to focus on strengthening the magical defenses of Ulthuan, but also to look beyond, understanding that the fight against chaos would not confine to his homeland alone. His wisdom and power attracted followers and students from across the mortal realms, all drawn to his promise of a new era of peace and stability. Teclis' efforts culminated in several key battles where his strategic use of magic turned the tide against seemingly unsurmountable odds. One notable instance was during the siege of Torakare, where his mastery of high magic broke the siege and decimated the invading forces of chaos. Each victory served not only as a defense of his people, but as a clear message that the High Elves, under the leadership of Teclis, were active contenders in the cosmic struggle against chaos. In time, Teclis' legend grew. His journeys took him to the far corners of the world, seeking allies and knowledge that could aid in his quest. Each venture was guided by the same unyielding purpose: to forge a future where the light of order would permanently outshine the shadows of chaos. In the midst of this despair, Teclis' emergence as a formidable sorcerer provided a flicker of hope to the beleaguered High Elves. Armed with a war crown of Saphri and wielding his newly enchanted blade, Teclis became a symbol of resistance. His interventions in battles were decisive, turning the tide in favor of the High Elves when all seemed lost. His powers grew with each victory, and tales of its feats spread rapidly, rekindling the spirit of his people. Teclis' strategic brilliance shone particularly at the Siege of Lothen. As the Dark Elves and their Chaos allies laid waste to the city's defences, Teclis orchestrated a counteroffensive that would go down in history. With precise and powerful spells, he managed to break the siege engines and disrupt the coordination of the enemy forces. His magic sowed confusion and fear among the ranks of the Dark Elves, who had never before faced such a formidable magical adversary. Realizing that the survival of Ulthuan hinged not on military might alone, but also on restoring morale, Teclis sought to inspire the Elven princes and their armies. He travelled from one kingdom to another, rallying the defenders and reinforcing the protective magics of their cities. His presence alone lifted the spirits of the troops, and his speeches reminded them of the proud history and resilience of the High Elves. Meanwhile, the search for the Everqueen continued amidst the chaos. Tyrion, though weakened by the Witch Elf's poison, remained determined to protect Alarielle. Their survival became a beacon of hope, a symbol that Ulthuan was not yet lost. Teclis, sensing the strategic importance of their return, intensified his efforts to locate them, employing both conventional scouts and magical divinations. As the war dragged on, the Dark Elves found themselves increasingly on the defensive. Teclis' relentless assaults, combined with the sporadic but fierce resistance of the Elven armies, began to turn the tide. The Dark Elves' initial momentum waned as they struggled to counter the strategic brilliance and raw power of Teclis' magic. The Black Arcs, once the harbingers of doom, were repelled one by one as Teclis and the Lothen sea forces disrupted their supply lines and inflicted heavy damage. The climactic moment came when Teclis confronted the Slaneshi champion Albrecht Numan and his followers. In a display of unmatched power, Teclis summoned the forces of nature and magic, decimating the chaos forces in an instant. This victory was pivotal, demoralizing the army and proving that the High Elves could not only defend their lands but also reclaim them. As the war reached its zenith, Teclis' role evolved from that of a sorcerer to that of a leader. His vision for a unified Ulthuan free from the clutches of chaos inspired all who heard him. With each victory, the Elves of Ulthuan rallied, their spirits lifted by a hope that Teclis embodied. As the dust settled and the enemy forces became visible, the anticipation and resolve of the Elven army intensified. The Witch King of Nagaroth, undeterred by the defeat of his Keeper of Secrets, had amassed an army formidable enough to engulf the plains. His forces, a grim mosaic of dark elves and chaos warriors, advanced with malevolent determination, eager to crush the last resistance of the High Elves. Under the leadership of Teclis and Tyrion, the High Elves prepared for what could be their final confrontation. Tyrion, though still recovering from his near-fatal wounds, mounted his warhorse, his presence alone inspiring the troops. Teclis, meanwhile, stood resolute with the Everqueen, his energies focused on fortifying the magical defences around the position. The battle commenced with a thunderous clash as both sieges charged. The charioteers of Tiranoc, known for their reckless bravery, collided with the vanguard of the Dark Elves, their scything wheels cutting through the enemy ranks. Meanwhile, the Silver Helm cavalry, riding in tight formation, pierced through weaker points in the enemy line, sowing chaos among the Dark Elf infantry. Above the melee, the griffin-mounted elven lords swooped down, targeting enemy commanders and disrupting their ability to organize. On the ground, the swordmasters of the White Tower moved with lethal precision, their blades singing a deadly dance that no foe could withstand. Beside them, the Everqueen's maiden guard fought fiercely, their loyalty to their queen driving their every strike. As the battle raged, Teclis's control over the field of magic became evident. With every chant and gesture, the air crackled with arcane energy. He summoned winds that disoriented the enemy and bolts of lightning that struck with deadly accuracy. His spells not only battered the physical ranks of the Dark Elves, but also shielded his own forces from magical reprisals. However, the Witch King was not without his own dark sorceries. From atop his chariot he unleashed curses and blights destined to weaken the resolve of the High Elf warriors. But for every curse he cast, Teclis was ready with a counterspell, his mastery of higher magic proving a crucial counterweight to the Witch King's malevolence. As the battle raged on, the High Elves felt the immense pressure of the encroaching dark forces. Despite their valiant efforts and the heroics of Tyrion, the sheer volume and ferocity of the enemy threatened to overwhelm them. Just as despair began to grip the heart of the elven warriors, Teclis, sensing the pivotal moment had arrived, prepared to cast a spell of unprecedented power. From his position on a rise overlooking the battlefield, Teclis raised the staff of Lilith high into the air. The sacred artifact began to glow with a brilliant light, drawing upon the latent energies of the land and the very essence of the magical winds that swirl around Ulthuan. The air hummed with power, and a palpable sense of anticipation filled the hearts of the weary elven warriors. Teclis chanted in the ancient tongue of the High Elves, his voice carrying over the glamour of battle. The runes of his staff pulsed rhythmically in sync with his incantations. The fabric of reality seemed to bend around him, as he drew deeply from his reserves of strength and the magical energy bestowed upon him by the staff of Lilith. As Teclis reached the climax of his spell, a colossal wave of force erupted from the staff, sweeping across the battlefield like a gale. This wave of pure magical energy washed over the friend and foe alike. However, to the High Elves, it was a rejuvenating wind that healed their wounds and bolstered their spirit, infusing them with renewed vigor and hope. To the forces of chaos and the Dark Elves, it was an agonizing torrent that sapped their strength and threw their ranks into disarray. The tide of the battle began to turn. Bolstered by Teclis's magic, the High Elves rallied. Tyrion, revitalized and burning with righteous fury, led a devastating charge that cut deep into the enemy lines. His blade Sunfang blazed like the sun, each stroke bringing down a foe. Malhandir, his noble steed, seemed unstoppable, crushing the corrupted under its hooves. Meanwhile, Teclis continued to wield his magic with masterful precision. He targeted key enemy formations, disrupting their ability to regroup or coordinate. His spells sought out the leaders of the Dark Elves, sowing confusion and fear among them. The Witch King, observing the sudden shift in the battle, tried desperately to counter Teclis's magic with his own dark sorceries, but found himself thwarted by the superior power of the Staff of Lilith. The battle stretched on, but now it was the Dark Elves who were being pushed back step by step. Their initial numerical advantage was nullified by the strategic genius of the Elven Brothers and the indomitable will of the High Elf army. Each elven warrior fought with the strength of 10, their blades guided by the certainty that the survival of their homeland was within reach. Seeing the tide turning, the Witch King ordered his most dreaded units forwards, Chaos Knights. encased in dark armour, thundered towards the elven lines, but before they could break through, the elven cavalry regrouped and charged, led by Tyrion, whose blade gleamed with a light as piercing as his resolve. As the battle reached its crescendo, the elves pushed back with everything they had. The Dark Elves faltered, their lines breaking under the relentless assault. The Witch King, realizing that the battle was lost, withdrew, his anger a dark cloud that promised retribution. As the sun began to set on the Finuval plain, the remnant of the Dark Elf forces found themselves retreating, harried by the relentless elves. The sight of the Witch King withdrawing in the face of an elfin counterattack was a symbol powerful to all who witnessed it. The battle, though costly, ended in a resounding victory for the High Elves, sealed by the courage and leadership of Tyrion and the unmatched magical prowess of Teclis. In the aftermath of the battle, the plain of Finuval was littered with fallen, a testament to the ferocity of the fight. But the elves had prevailed, and their kingdom had been saved by the bravery and magic of their leaders. The victory at Finuval would be remembered not just as a military triumph, but as a moment when the very soul of Ulthuan had come together to defy the darkness, led by the indomitable spirits of Teclis and Tyrion. This victory at the Battle of Finuval Plain would be celebrated in the annals of elven history for generations to come, but it was not only a triumph over their ancient enemies, but a reaffirmation of the strength and spirit of the High Elves. Their battlefield, once a scene of despair, became a sacred ground, a testament to the resilience and unity of Ulthuan. Tyrion and Teclis, brothers in blood and battle, had once again saved their people from the brink, their names forever etched as heroes of legendary stature. The momentum of the war shifted palpably after the stunning defeat of the Witch King. Tyrion and Teclis, now hailed as saviours of Ulthuan, rode at the vanguard of renewed hope and determination among the High Elf forces. With the Witch King temporarily banished to the realm of chaos, the morale of the Dark Elf armies crumbled, leaving them vulnerable to the strategic prowess and rallying spirit of the High Elves. As the brothers led their forces southward to relieve the besieged city of Lothan, the lands they passed through echoes with tales of their valour and the miraculous powers displayed on the battlefield. The mere news of their approach instilled courage in the beleaguered defenders and struck terror in the hearts of their foes. Upon reaching Lothan, the scene was of a city under severe strain, yet unbroken. The Phoenix King and his guard, inspired by the arrival of Tyrion and Teclis, sallied forth from the city's mighty gates to join forces with the relief army. The besiegers, caught unprepared between the anvil of Lothan's walls and the hammer of the High Elf reinforcements, faced a swift and brutal defeat. Tyrion's prowess in battle and Teclis' mastery of magic were a devastating combination that no enemy could withstand. In the aftermath, outside the grand walls of Lothan, amidst the cheers of soldiers and the tears of relieved citizens, the Phoenix King greeted Tyrion and Teclis with a deep gratitude and respect. The brothers were not just leaders, they were symbols of the indomitable will and spirit of the High Elves. A great council was held, and within 2 days a bold strategy was devised to expel the Dark Elves from their lands once and for all. Tyrion was tasked with leading an army to Safri, aiming to lift the siege of the Tower of Hoeth, the centre of elven learning and magic, and a symbol of High Elf resilience. Meanwhile, the Phoenix King would march north, taking the fight directly to the enemy, leveraging the strategic withdrawal of the Dark Elf forces in disarray from their failed siege. Simultaneously, exhilarating news arrived from Caledor. The dragons, ancient allies of the High Elves, long thought too few and too wary to fight, had been roused. This turn of events was a testament to the desperate yet unyielding efforts of the princes of Caledor, who had not ceased in their endeavours to awaken these mighty beasts. The dragon's awakening was seen as a sign, a beacon of ultimate victory, for no force on land could truly match their power and majesty in battle. With the dragons aloft and the armies rallied under the leadership of heroes and kings, the High Elves pressed their advantage. The battles that followed were fierce and fought with peril. Yet the High Elves, inspired by their leaders and reinforced with draconic might, began to reclaim their lands. Village by village, city by city, the Dark Elves were driven back, their invasion stymied by the relentless surging tide of elven valor and wrath. As the elven warriors reclaimed their territories, the lands of Ulthuan began to heal from the scars of war. The victories, hard won through sacrifice and the bravery of countless warriors, were not just military triumphs, but a reaffirmation of the High Elf way of life and their unbreakable connection to their homeland. Tyrion and Teclis, having led their people through their darkest hour, were enshrined in the annals of elven history now, celebrated not only as warriors and wizards, but as the embodiment of the eternal resilience and majesty of the High Elves. The profound impact of the twin brothers, Tyrion and Teclis, on their fate of the world continued to resonate long after their individual exploits had become the stuff of legend. Their journeys, though often pursued separately, were bound by a shared commitment to safeguarding Ulthuan and supporting its allies, further solidifying their legacy as defenders of the light against the encroaching darkness. Teclis' tenure at the White Tower of Hoeth marked a significant period in High Elf history, characterized by a deepening of magical knowledge and an expansion of influence beyond their native shores. As the new High Law Master, Teclis not only pursued the ancient mysteries of sorcery, but also became a beacon of wisdom and guidance, nurturing a new generation of mages who would continue to wield magic as a force for good. His willingness to share this knowledge with the humans in the Empire, establishing the colleges of magic, fundamentally changed the balance of power, providing mankind with the tools necessary to resist the ever-present threat of chaos. Under his guidance, the colleges flourished. Teclis' curriculum was rigorous, combining the High Elves' nuanced understanding of magic with practical applications that could be used in battle and peacekeeping. As the years passed, his students formed the backbone of the Empire's magical defense, a testament to Teclis' foresight and his dedication to the preservation of not just Ulthuan, but all the realms of order. Meanwhile, Tyrion's role as the champion of the Everqueen and a commander in Ulthuan saw him leading his people through numerous conflicts. His strategic acumen and valor in battle ensured that Ulthuan remained a formidable power against its enemies, including the recurrent threat from the Norse raiders and the ever-persistent Dark Elves. Tyrion's leadership during these expeditions was instrumental in reclaiming and protecting sacred sites like the Altar of Cain, vital for maintaining the spiritual and martial strength of the High Elves. Tyrion also spent his time ensuring the security of Avalon, a region dear to the Everqueen and pivotal to the cultural and spiritual life of the High Elves. His efforts to maintain peace and stability here were crucial, involving not only military might, but also diplomatic and cultural leadership, fostering a sense of unity and strength among his people. The twins' occasional reunions were times of reflection and reaffirmation of their shared goals. Despite their different paths, Tyrion with his sword and shield and Teclis with his staff and spells, each brother appreciated the other's contribution to their shared cause. The respect and love between them remained undiminished by distance or time, each encounter a reminder of their shared youth and enduring bond. As Teclis continued his travels, venturing into distant lands like Cathay and Lustria, his fame as a sage and sorcerer spread far and wide. He not only assisted in military campaigns, but also engaged with various cultures, learning from them and imparting his knowledge, thereby enriching both his understanding and that of others about the diverse forces shaping their world. The aftermath of the Battle of Souk left both the Empire and its allies in awe of Teclis' power and the decisive role he played in turning back the darkness that had threatened to engulf Middenheim. The clearing smoke revealed a battlefield scoured of demon kind, with Teclis and his swordmasters standing resolute, unharmed amidst the devastation. This singular event not only cemented Teclis' status as one of the greatest mages of all time, but also as a beacon of hope against the encroaching forces of chaos. News of this victory spread quickly, bolstering the spirits of the allied forces throughout the Empire and beyond. In Altdorf, where political tensions and rivalries had once threatened to fracture the alliance, the tale of the battle served as a stark reminder of the common enemy they faced. Teclis' plea at the Conclave of Light to unite against chaos resonated deeper following his demonstration of immense power and courage. The Elector Counts, previously divided by old grievances and territorial disputes, found a new, albeit uneasy, camaraderie in the face of such existential threats. The impacts of Teclis' actions extended beyond the battlefield. At the conclave, his words and deeds spurred the leaders to lay down a framework for mutual defense and cooperation. The dwarves of Karakadrin, who had harbored long grudges against their human and elven neighbors, pledged their access to the cause, motivated by Teclis' demonstration of solidarity. Meanwhile, Sea Lord Aislin's fleet took vigilant patrols in the Sea of Claws, putting off potential naval incursions by the forces of chaos and ensuring the safety of supply lines across the waters. In the halls of power in Altdorf, Emperor Karl Franz publicly acknowledged the crucial role of the High Elves, particularly praising Teclis' strategic and magical prowess. This is not only strengthening the bonds between Ulthuan and the Empire, but also ensured ongoing diplomatic and military support between the races. The colleges of magic, initially funded with Teclis' guidance, became centers of arcane study and training for a new generation of mages, now more than ever focused on understanding the forces of chaos and finding ways to counteract them. As the campaign against chaos continued, Teclis remained at the Emperor's side, his counsel sought by leaders and military commanders alike. The mage's wisdom helped to shape the strategies that would lead them through numerous subsequent battles, each time enhancing the coordination between the diverse forces of men, elves, and dwarves. Teclis' reflections on his own nature and his nuanced view of humanity highlight his profound understanding of the complexities of life and the intricacies of interracial relations. Unlike many of his kin, Teclis possesses a rare empathy towards humans, derived not only from his own experiences of vulnerability and ostracism, but also from his deep philosophical musings on the nature of existence and the roles different races play within it. As a mage whose life has been perpetually shadowed by the curse of an Aryan, making him physically frail but immensely powerful in the arcane arts, Teclis has always stood somewhat apart from his own people, both revered and pitied. His father's obsession with the past and neglect of his sons, particularly in their emotional and physical care, left Teclis with a profound sense of isolation. Yet it also drove him to seek solace and understanding beyond the confines of elven society. His journeys across the world, coupled with his interactions with various races and cultures, have only deepened his perspective. Teclis sees the elves' self-perceived superiority as a potential flaw, an arrogance that could blind them to the value and capabilities of other races. His time teaching at the College of Magic further cemented his appreciation for human potential. Despite their shorter lifespans and what many elves might see as the lack of refinement, Teclis recognized in humans a vibrancy and a capacity for growth that many of his own people overlooked. Teclis' empathy extends beyond mere acknowledgement. He has acted in his beliefs, sometimes at great personal risk. His decision to aid the humans in their battles, to teach them magic and to stand with them against the undead, speaks to a commitment that goes beyond the obligation of alliance or the necessities of war. It is a manifestation of deeply held belief in the intrinsic value of all life, regardless of its origin or the length of its existence. This empathy and willingness to act selflessly are part of what makes Teclis a complex character. He embodies the tension between his heritage and his personal convictions, between the expected role of an elven mage and the path he has chosen for himself. His nighttime studies, a habit born out of necessity due to his frail health, symbolize his perpetual quest for knowledge and his dedication to understanding the deeper truths of the universe, whether they pertain to magic, philosophy, or the potential for harmony among the diverse races of the world. In this way, Teclis not only serves as a bridge between the realms of men and elves, but also as a beacon of hope and a model for cooperation and mutual respect. His life's work, marked by both triumph and tragedy, challenges others to look beyond their prejudices and recognize the shared vulnerabilities and strength that unite all beings in their struggle against the forces of darkness. Through his actions and teachings, Teclis continues to inspire those who seek to make a difference, proving that true strength often comes from understanding and embracing our differences, rather than denying them. Teclis, the scion of the line of Anarion and one of the most formidable mages in the history of Ulthuan, carries an array of unique war gear that both symbolizes and amplifies his magical prowess. Each item in his arsenal is not only a tool of war, but also a relic steeped in history and magic, echoing the ancient and enduring legacy of the High Elves. The Sword of Teclis is an enchanted blade far more than a normal weapon. It is a masterpiece of elven craftsmanship welded with potent magic. Forged by Teclis himself, the sword is imbued with energies that crackle with every swing, capable of cleaving through the essence of magic itself. Its blade, glowing with pale, fierce light, can sever the bonds of spells and dissipate magical barriers, making it an invaluable asset in battles dominated by sorcery. The Moon Staff of Lilith is perhaps the most iconic of Teclis' war gear. The Moon Staff channels the divine energy of Lilith, goddess of dreams and fortune. The staff not only enhances Teclis' already formidable spells, but also serves as a conduit for Lilith's protective powers, sustaining him in battle. However, its power is a double-edged sword. When fully unleashed, the staff's energy can drain Teclis, leaving him vulnerable. Thus he uses its full might sparingly, conserving its energy for moments when only the most devastating magic will suffice. The Scroll of Hoeth is an ancient scroll containing spells and incantations accumulated over millennia. Written by the most esteemed lawmasters of Hoeth, the scroll is more than a repository of knowledge. It is a symbol of the wisdom and history of the High Elves, a tangible link to their storied past. In battle, the Scroll of Hoeth allows Teclis to access rare and powerful magic, tipping the scales in favour of forces of order. The war crown of Saffri worn upon his brow is not only a mark of his royal and arcane status, but also a potent magical artifact in its own right. The crown enhances Teclis' mental acuity and magical focus, allowing him to cast spells with greater precision and power. It also serves as a beacon of hope and strength to his allies, signifying the enduring might and wisdom of Saffri. Potions of inner strength are required by Teclis, as his physical frailty, a consequence of the curse of Anarion, is mitigated in part by his use of these specially crafted potions. Sariur, with his golden hue, invigorates Teclis' body, granting him a surge of vitality needed to endure the rigors of spellcasting. Charrois, deep blue as the night sky, rejuvenates his mind, sharpening his focus and bolstering his mental defenses. These potions are brewed from rare and powerful ingredients, including powdered griffin bone, and represent a necessary crutch that allows Teclis to operate at the peak of his capabilities. Together, these items not only equip Teclis for the rigors of combat, but also reflect his deep connections to the history, gods, and magic of the High Elves. Each piece of war gear is a testament to his status as a master mage and a key figure in the defense of not just Ulthuan, but the entire world from the forces of chaos and destruction. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video, and let me know in the comments what I should talk about next time.